Some of life's most awful moments happen to us when we least expect it. That is never more true than for the people in today's stories of unprovoked attacks across the U.S. Prepare to be startled, surprised, and flabbergasted as you watch these wild events unfold. Justin Jasper will spend the next 7 years behind bars for killing Deontay Neal with one punch outside an Ybor nightclub in September 2019. The two men had never even met. Surveillance video shows Neal standing with another man outside Coyote Ugly in Ybor at 2:30 in the morning. Jasper appears in the video and, seemingly without provocation, punches Neal, who never saw it coming. Neal fell to the ground, where his skull was seen slamming into the concrete curb. He never regained consciousness and passed away from severe trauma at a hospital a few days later.
Deontay Neal never saw it coming. Neal never regained consciousness.
Jasper's excuse was that he came to the aid of a friend who was in a heated discussion with Neal. His lawyers say Jasper, who is a former Arizona State football player and fitness model, was called out of the bar and told something was about to happen to his friend outside. Almost 2 years later, Jasper has taken a deal from the state. He will spend 7 years behind bars with an additional 5 years of probation for manslaughter. Justin Jasper pleaded guilty in a virtual court hearing in June 2021. He was ordered to turn himself in to the Hillsborough County Jail. As part of the plea offer, Jasper will also have to do 75 hours of community service following his time behind bars. On June 16, 2021, a stabbing occurred around 10:15 a.m. along the 800 block of Post Street in San Francisco's Tenderloin district, according to police. Responding officers found a 94-year-old Asian woman suffering from multiple open wounds. The suspect, 35-year-old Daniel Kasich, was identified and taken into custody less than 2 hours after the incident. Police found a knife near the woman's home that they believe was used. No motive has been identified yet. The woman was taken to a hospital and expected to survive, much to the relief of her friends and neighbors who were horrified when they heard the news of what had happened. "I was so devastated to find out it was her. I just started bawling my eyes out," said one neighbor, Miranda Benvenuti. This isn't Kasich's first time being in trouble with the law. He was arrested 5 times in 2020 alone for charges relating to burglary. In 2016, he was arrested in connection to a homicide and was wearing an ankle tag at the time of his most recent arrest. The San Francisco Police Department continues to investigate the case. Antoine Rainey, a mentally disturbed man from California, has been charged with approaching unsuspecting women in public and pummeling them into unconsciousness, completely unprovoked. Rainey's own mom, Sheila Cresswell, saw security camera footage of one of the incidents and called the police to turn him in. He is charged in the attacks against 2 women, including a single mom at a Gardena gas station in May 2021. Court proceedings are on hold while Rainey's mental competency is evaluated. Rainey, a Long Beach, Florida resident, is charged with attacking a woman as she pumped gas in Gardena. Camera footage shows him pulling his vehicle in front of hers and looking around the parking lot before walking up to her car. Rainey advances and begins pummeling her to the ground. The horrifying incident lasted for over a minute before he threw her around the area while holding her hair. Afterwards, he walked calmly back to his vehicle and drove away. Store employees say he is a regular customer.
And that's where we learned that his mother tipped off police after seeing that security video.
The woman was treated at a hospital for severe injuries to her skull and face and will be able to make a full recovery, though she will likely still struggle with trauma. Rainey is also under suspicion of attacking a 63-year-old woman in her car in the same area the day before, according to investigators. He remains behind bars on a $50,000 bail. Brian Favuza suddenly turned on a man in a gas station in Massachusetts in early June 2021. Employees say Favuza was acting strangely, and they asked him to leave. That's when the trouble started. As Favuza stood at the counter, he made eye contact with one of the employees and held his finger to his lips in a shh gesture. He then quickly turned and began to punch the customer behind him without saying a word. Security camera footage shows the unbelievable moment the man falls to the ground and Fevouza continues his bizarre attack. Employees called the police and begged Fevouza to stop and leave. They never exchanged a single word. He never said anything to the guy. Just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. Fevouza picked up the man's cell phone and put it in his pocket as he walked out of the store. The battered and terrified customer was just getting to his feet when Fevouza came back in the door and slammed him to the ground again, throwing punches and kicks. He tried to zip-tie the man's hands together, saying, "I'm taking him with me." Employees finally talked him into leaving. When police arrived, they saw him sitting in his car and approached him. Officers kept him outside the store as they investigated the scene. Inside, they found the injured customer and the destruction that had occurred. Fevouza was arrested but did not go willingly. He also became aggressive with police in the station, and again before his video arraignment. Further legal proceedings have been put off until his mental evaluation is complete. Earlier, the same night that Fevouza went after the man in the gas station, he sucker-punched a concierge in the lobby of an apartment building.
I was talking to people, right? I never saw him coming back, and then just knocked me out. Never seen him.
Police say both of Fevouza's targets will make a full recovery. Fevouza's father told reporters that his son has battled psychological issues for many years and was released from a psychiatric hospital just days before the incident took place, when doctors determined that he did not pose a risk to others. An unexpected assailant, 55-year-old nurse Michelle Stillwell, is facing time behind bars for attacking her Uber driver out of nowhere. The driver, Michael Hassey Jr., was in the Tampa area in late April 2021 when he received the call to pick up Stillwell in front of Cask Social Kitchen, a restaurant and bar. Hassey says she got in and immediately fell asleep. Moments before they arrived at her destination, she woke up and began screaming and cursing at Hassey. In a matter of moments, she reached around his seat and clasped her hands around his throat and tried to strangle him. She slapped him in the face several times while screaming, "My daughter!" Stillwell then bit Hassey in the back of his neck. He tried to call the police, but she slapped the phone out of his hand.
22-year-old Michael Hassey Jr. says around 5 o'clock Saturday night, he responded to a ride request in front of Cask Social Kitchen in Tampa.
Hassey never fought back in fear of hurting Stillwell, who police later determined was under the influence. Stillwell was taken into custody and released on $15,000 bail. She is still awaiting further legal proceedings. Russell Alexander was hit in the mouth by a bullet as he sat on the beach in Miami in June 2021. While at the hospital, Alexander told police a man dressed in black walked past him and then stopped, made eye contact, and opened fire. Detectives identified the culprit as Rainer Rosario-Guerrero, 24, after finding his ID and a paper receipt for a gun several feet from where Alexander was shot. The bag also contained ammunition and a loaded magazine. Police located Rosario-Guerrero, who was homeless, the next day and brought him in for questioning. He immediately gave a full confession, telling police there was no motive behind his actions. Despite the amount of ammunition discovered, it's unclear if Rosario-Guerrero intended on targeting more victims. Amazingly, Russell Alexander was released from the hospital and is expected to make a full recovery. Rosario-Guerrero faces several charges from the incident and remains behind bars awaiting an arraignment. It's a frightening thought to think that any random person around you might suddenly turn on you, but unfortunately, it happens all too often, especially in low-income areas, where more people with psychological problems can't access the treatment they need and fall through the cracks. What do you think of these seemingly random, unprovoked attacks? Have you ever seen anything like them? If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit the notification bell to hear from us every time we upload fresh news content.